Hello everyone again, and welcome to another exhibition of speed review. Today we're in something rather special. It's a little bit different than what most people would think of special when they're thinking of review. Usually that's Ferrari, Lamborghini, etc. Expensive, exclusive, that kind of stuff, but this is exclusive, probably one of only a handful in the States, but it's the opposite of expensive. In fact, it's practically dirt cheap when you consider it to everything else. We're in a 2019 Suzuki Swift Sport, and this thing is fun and playful. And, you know, it is quite literally the definition of just an eccentric. It is quite literally a puppy dog on wheels. So let's get started, shall we? So this has 140 horsepower, probably just around the same torque. Really, it's not a torquey engine. It's definitely more of a little string it out and rev it till the nuts off it, just to get the most you can out of it. It's 2,200 pounds. It's a 5-door hatchback. It's not available in the United States. The gentleman named Alan who loaned this to us, who is a great fan of the show, he's from Mexico and he is here on a work visa. So he decided to bring the car with him, and it's going to kind of travel the world with him as he goes around for work. But he got this last year. He's put about 25,000 kilometers on it, so just under 20,000 miles, probably like around 16,000, some odd there. And he said the car's been fantastic. It's really short, really compact, and it is bright yellow, like Big Bird yellow with a tinge of green. And you can see this thing from a mile away. It pops. It's got little red accents all over. It's got, all the little letterings in carbon fiber, wrap. It looks awesome. It is exactly the way a hot hatch should be. Poppy, loud, and it gives you a look-at-me vibe without paying the look-at-me price. Really, if you're somebody like me who prefers a little larger car with a little more hangover, on the wheels, you can kind of get hung up on it, but this does it good. If you move on to the interior's kind of the same manner. It's small, but you've got fantastic bucket seats in here. You've got an awesome center display, which tells you anything from G to turbo boost to pretty much any temperature you could think of, to your tire pressure. You got an awesome little touchscreen entertainment here, which is fantastic for how cheap this car is from factory. And everything works so good. Everything's so simple. It's exactly the way you want it, which is why this car is only 2,200 pounds, and for only being 140 horsepower, it flies. Oh, it's fun. Continuing on, it is cheap. In here, it is very cheap. There's a lot of these panels that are, like garbage bin plastic is what I call it. But that's a good thing, because they put the money where they should have with this thing. You're not buying a hot hatch to have something that's going to feel high quality and have metal and leather everywhere. You're buying a hot hatch because you want to have some damn good fun. And this is exactly what does that, is they get a little cheaper materials in here, still make it good, and then they spend that money on the engine, the suspension, and the brakes, and the tuning, and it just is the way it needs to be done. Take lessons, everybody. Okay. I am not the biggest hot hatch fan, if I'm honest. I think that they're fun cars, but I just like larger things. I like more space, more practicality, more usability. And these have their own practicality and usability, which is obviously their efficiency. They're small, they're easy to run around town, but to be honest, this thing has slightly won me over. It is so much fun to just whip around and be going down the canyons and whatnot, and you can achieve some pretty good speed in this thing because it's a turbocharged car and it's so light that it moves. The steering response is awesome. It's not far off my Stinger, to be honest. It doesn't feel darty and like a small wheelbase car has a tendency to. It's very precise, and you know exactly where it's going, and it's got some good weight to it. It doesn't feel over boosted. Brake pedal's nice and linear. It's not touchy or grabby, which is good. Again, this is a car that you're supposed to be able to use on the daily. You don't want that. You don't want carbon ceramic brakes. You don't want even Brembos on something like this that are going to cost a lot of money and wear out quickly and just be bitey everywhere. You want it to be nice and linear, and it does that. And they don't fade. They seem to be just perfect for the car. Now onto the transmission. It is a single clutch automated manual, and it does pretty good. I mean, you can't expect it to do much more for the price point. Really, downshifts happen, upshifts happen, and they happen pretty well. And it's about as fast as you're going to expect for a cheap single clutch to kind of run out. The only issue that I've ran into is that it really doesn't like to downshift. You have to really pound on the brakes and get down to like below 3,000 before it'll allow you to downshift. But you kind of take what you can get. It's got good ratios, some good pull, upshifts are great, and if you're just leaving it in drive mode, you know what? It actually doesn't feel jerky at all. It drives just like a normal automatic transmission would. Now the engine. I mentioned earlier that this is not necessarily a torque monster. It has a good amount of torque down low to get you moving. It's not wheezy. It doesn't absolutely have no boost, but this is the kind of engine you just want to rev the nuts off of. You want to bring this thing to the red line on every shift and just keep banging it, because that's where all your power isn't in a tiny, tiny little 1.4 liter. It's awesome, and it just makes it so enjoyable everywhere, because then you can just sit there and you're really not exceeding many speed limits, but you are having so much fun. You know, I think it's such a travesty that here in the United States we have cars like this that don't make it here for one reason or another, and there's quite a few of them. But you know, some of them are from regulation standpoint. Some of them are just because possibly Suzuki doesn't think that the United States wants a car like this, which they might not be wrong. We're in the SUV craze of the century right now, and you got SUVs in every flavor, size, and type. And that's sad, because that puts a damper on cars like this possibly making it into the States. Even if they can meet regulations and everything like that, there may be a chance that market just isn't there. Everybody wants that little SUV that's literally a glorified hatchback. But we'll see what the future holds. For now, I'm hoping that we can have more people like Alan that can bring these into the States, and more people like you guys can experience a car like this, because it just works and it is fantastic. It's cheap and reliable. It just goes, and even the boot, it's even got trunk space in miles per gallon. It ticks every single box you would want to have a car you can just buy and use, and absolutely have so much fun doing so. Now, I've been mentioning how cheap this thing is quite a lot. Now, granted, this is buying in a foreign country, so license, all that's going to be different. But long story short, this car is only $17,000. Think about that. Your GTIs are very, very easily into the 30s with a lot of options. This car is almost half that price. Seriously, I mean, it just moves and does everything it should. You got to think, do you really want to pay almost twice as much to have a badge, a little more interior comfort? I don't. This is what people should take note of. Anyways, till next time, drive safely. Have fun, my friends.
Woohoo!